Welcome in, Bleav in Commanders podcast, part of the Bleav Network. We're brought to you by FanDuel. Please like, comment, and follow us. That is Anthony Armstrong right there at Rated Armstrong number 13 in the Redskins program. Scott Jackson over here, and we are, of course, early part of the second, really the first full week of training camp, but week 2 underway, and obviously things are moving along. We've dealt with some early injuries, with Nick Algretti, obviously the biggest one to discuss that we've been discussing. So I thought we should discuss, Anthony, big picture before we even get to preseason game number 1, which will be a week from Friday. Like, what do you feel confident about, right, going into the season from kind of the offseason work, from some of the things you've heard and seen this offseason? And I kind of think that there's certainly a lot of improvement, a lot of areas from improvement, certainly coming off of last year's season. But I do think there's some things that you still have, your concerns about, but also some things you got to be pretty confident about getting better from where we were last year.
Yeah, good to see you, Scott. Oh, man, what am I confident about? Hey, I'm an optimistic dude. I always think, like, look, if you're coming over here and you listening to Armstrong, I'm gonna be optimistic about it. I'm not just going to beat the team up for no reason. I'll criticize where it's necessary if they're not playing or operating at a level that needs to be, worthy of winning games. I'm going to say something about it. But I have some confidence in some things that I know I feel are going to be different and ideally will be an improvement. But the one thing I know I'm going to see is some variety, right? A little spice of life on the offensive and the defensive side, to be real. We've seen a lot of stagnation and a lot of stationary routes. I saw a stat on Reddit. It was on Reddit or Twitter or somewhere, and they were like, it was about routes that are ran from stationary positions versus motion, and they had different players plotted out. Our man Terry McLaurin was basically off the screen with how much his routes were. One, he had some variation, but he was stationary most of the time. This year, you're going to see him moving around. David Bleav promised that. Terry's mentioned about being multiple, and that's not telling any stories. It just means it's going to be a guessing game for defenses. Often, and then frankly, we get to watch and kind of figure out which way is Terry going to go, how are they going to use him. So I'm excited to see the variety on both sides of the ball because, frankly, these past couple of years, it ain't been so good, and we want to see something different, man. What about you?
Yeah, I think the defense is going to be light years better. I really do. And I get it. They were terrible. They were the worst defense in the NFL in a lot of categories last year, so it's hard not to be way better. But I think it's going to be the best defense they've had in Dan Quinn's 3 years. Even the first year, it wasn't that good of a defense. Like, they were opportunistic. They had their moments, but it was not a consistently good defense, even in year 1. But I think this year, just with the variety of, look, they got tons of depth at the D line, right? We've talked a lot about that. I mean, they're not in as big a hurry to get Armstrong and Wise back because they've got some dogs up front. I mean, they have a really good rotation up front, and then on the back end, we've talked so much about what we're worried about maybe with corner. But man, I'll tell you something. Rasul Douglas, that guy, he looks like a CB1. I mean, he's legit, and not to mention Nick Cross, who's flying all over the field. And they have so much depth at that layer, and then that's not even talking about the interior linebackers, right? That you went from having, as Doc Walker called them a few weeks back with us, the AARP group, to some young studs, that are really getting, that really are fast. Suddenly, this is a fast defense. So I think the defense is going to do a lot of hunting, which is going to be good because it's been frustrating. That's been one of the more frustrating parts of watching it. Because I really had hoped with Dan Quinn coming over, this is going to be because his teams in Dallas did this, right? They got after the quarterback. They were a little weak against the run as well, which carried over here. But, man, we just really didn't have that consistently. And, of course, last year, they got torpedoed early on the season. But I think, Adam Peters went out and invested in that area this offseason. I think it's shown here in the early parts of camp, and that's why people should be excited about this defense.
Yeah, I could see it being a troublesome defense for other teams in these divisions, absolutely. Right? Just speed and aggression, right? Now there's that. Somebody asked a great question. I don't remember who it was, but there's a fine point, right, where everything's going to cross, where it's either we got a little bit too much, and this is as much as they can handle, okay? And hopefully that sticking point is much higher on the variety and the creative side and more exotic things, because hopefully we can only run basic cover 2, just line up and run it. And it means like, dadgummit, we don't got smart players, but I think that they've picked some good players that are going to allow you to be creative and be able to communicate on different levels. So, hey, if I'm blitzing over here, I need you to cover my zone because I'm out, right? So those are major things that can create turnovers, or they can create big plays for the offense. So I'm interested to see how that works out, especially you say in 11, 10 days or so, Miami Dolphins coming to town, man.
Or in the defense, the defense, the one thing that's been consistent at these OTAs prior to training camp and the mini, and everybody who's been there will tell you, like, look, they're around the ball. Like, they're around the ball. They always getting the ball. No, not necessarily, but they're certainly around the ball. And that's what about the Minnesota defenses that Brian Flores has been a part of and what Durante Jones worked under. They're around the football. And then, it's always the tough thing with these guys. They'd like to separate some receivers, of course, but they're not allowed to do that right now because they're their own teammates. So that's why these Dolphins practices. And then, I don't know what the rules of engagement will be that day. Maybe they're not going to be allowed to take anyone to the ground or really hit anyone, but it will be interesting to see how they handle it. But we know that when they play Friday night, whoever is on the field, even if it's just backups, they're going to get to separate some people. And we'll get to see, kind of the idea of what this defense will look like. And Dan Quinn alluded to it before Saturday's practice too. Hey, sometimes it'll call for the 3-4 look. Some days it'll be 4 down linemen. Some day, there is obviously a variety involved with this defense, which I think also makes it exciting. And again, if you're healthy, it could be really potent and be a real strength of this team. Because you get this question all the time, as do I. Well, what do they do to help Jayden Daniels this offseason?
Mm-hmm.
Do they do enough? Well, the first start was they put a defense out on the field that's not going to, give up 7 every damn time on the opening drive, and not, be putting in a position where, when he comes back on the field, he's looking at the scoreboard like, crap, we're down by how much already? Like putting the pressure on you. So I think that's, and also give him the ball back maybe quickly sometimes, maybe, with short fields. Like, these are the kind of things that, will help a team look a lot better. You think about last year's Super Bowl teams, right? I mean, those defenses help those offenses a lot. I mean, Drake May wasn't exactly Tom Brady in the playoffs, but his defense was so good that he didn't have to be Tom Brady, right? He could, he picked his spots. He made some big throws at times, but he didn't have to be great. You think about Sam Darnold, he had the really good game against the Rams, but the other ones, he didn't really need to do as much because that defense was so damn dominant. So I like what they've done on that side of the ball a lot. And I'm really bullish about what they're going to do this year once they get on the field. Yeah,
I think if you are, Jayden Daniels is such a special talent, right? We don't it's inconceivable to ask somebody to play at that special talent level every single play on their 60, 70 plays on offense, right? Like, he's not going to save us every single play. And having the ability to mix things up in play calls and having the ability for a defense to make it a little bit easier on them, I'm all for it, Scott. I am all for it. That is how you, help get some wins, right? This is the ultimate team game.
Right.
It takes everybody to go and do it. That's why sometimes I laugh at organizations. Not laugh at, but I get confused by organizations that all they do is chase the franchise quarterback and don't consider building the rest of the team sometimes. But that's neither here nor there, man. Sometimes you got to be able to build your roster. Even if they have somebody suggest that they want to be on your roster, that would be very helpful. If people just raising their hands and up and, in this economy, that'd be really good. You think about like the grocery store clerk who showed you some extra help, Scott. You ever had that happen? Your wife sends you in there, I need brown mustard. And you get to the aisle, you're like, I don't know if it's brown mustard, Dijon mustard, spicy, whatever it is. But then you have the helper that can help. Yeah, or you forget. Just get all 3 of them and then return.
Text your wife, which I do like 7 or 8 times.
Get the list ahead of time because you don't want to hear it. Oh, man. But look, if you're hiring, you can have your great candidates do this exact thing. They can go on your website, on your job offering, and tell you why they are interested in your job. ZipRecruiter has this feature, and it helps those candidates stand out from the others. ZipRecruiter has that powerful matching technology. It's going to find the qualified candidates quickly. I love that fact because it just makes it a whole lot easier for you. Try ZipRecruiter and meet great candidates who will go the extra step for your job. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter are going to get a quality candidate within the first 24 hours. And you can try it for free today at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter, meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
All right. Thanks to ZipRecruiter. We appreciate all their support. This is Bleav in Commanders, brought to you by FanDuel, part of the Bleav Network. Please like, comment, and follow on the podcast as well. All right. Jayden Daniels, obviously a huge key to this season. Very excited from what we've seen of him early here in training camp and his comfort level with being under center and to spread the ball around. I mean, I think I talked to you last episode about the Saturday practice that Jalen Lane was also very active in that practice. And I understand, he's stacked it up since then in the padded day on that Monday. So that's really good to see as well, because here's a rookie who we know he can return punts. He was excellent at that last year. If he can find himself more comfortable as a receiver and obviously, securing that football, catching it. He had a couple drops last year at some inopportune times. That would be a big help to this offense too. But big picture, NFC East, if this Commanders team is as improved as we all hope they are and think they're going to be, still some competition in the field. The Philadelphia Eagles didn't take the offseason off. The Dallas Cowboys certainly didn't. The Giants didn't. They had an upgrade at the coaching area with John Harbaugh, and obviously had a lot of additions there. Who do you feel like, though, among that group is the, quote, team to beat, or the team that will be in the way of this Washington team winning an NFC East division?
Well. What team do I think is going to be the best of them all? I get this feeling that it could be, I hate to say it, but I mean, you got to still deal with the Eagles, but I kind of feel like it's going to be a little bit more Dallas.
Ooh, okay.
I think it's going to be a little bit more Dallas, and that's simply because these suckers got George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb.
Right.
That's a lot of offense, okay? That's a lot of offense, and to assume you're going to have the ability – there it is.
There's the odds.
This is the odds. It was on FanDuel. So
there's a big separation between Dallas and Washington, obviously.
Yeah.
So Philadelphia is a slight favorite over the Cowboys, but not a huge favorite when you think about it.
Not a huge favorite. I mean, you think of the way things shaking out. Dak Prescott still has his top weapons. Jalen Hurts lost his top weapon. If one of his top weapons, and A.J. Brown, you can't disrespect that. The guy's a top player. He's gone, but you still got Saquon Barkley. So that gap of being close between those two teams, I think, is fair. Big question for Dallas is that defense going to really improve that much? With Christian Parker coming over from Philly, he's going to have some familiarity, at least player-wise. He may not know much about the scheme, but we'll see how that goes. So I would love to see those two teams battle. New York is going to be annoying.
Yeah,
New
I think
York
so.
is going to be annoying. And that's the ultimate way to say it for them. Like, they have enough talent on defense to ruin your Sunday, but then on offense they have enough. They may give themselves a headache and then knock themselves out of the playing scenario, Scott. So that's the way I feel about it. What about you, man? Who do you think could be the biggest? Cumbersome.
I think Dallas had a very good offseason, like you mentioned earlier. And I think they have a lot of talent, but man, like, it's just little things. Like I wanted to try to, every year I try to get rid of a clean slate, right? And not get caught up in the past. It's every year's a new year in the NFL. I mean, teams go from worst to first all the time, but then they get to training camp and they can't help themselves. I mean, Dak Prescott wears a Super Bowl 30 t-shirt. Dude, don't do that stuff to you. I mean, come on, man. I mean, these people looking for a reason to crush you. I mean, don't do that to yourself. Then you got Jerry. We're going to get a star. He's like, we're looking to trade for a star. I mean, if you're the Raiders and you don't have the Cowboys on the line, like looking to just fleece them for Max Crosby, you're stupid. I mean, because look, the Max Crosby doesn't line up with the Raiders timeline at this point. They're ready to let him go to the Ravens, this offseason. Right. I mean, why not send him to the Cowboys? Which would be awkward, by the way, if the Cowboys did take him on, because remember, there's a Cowboys team doctor that was part of the medicals on Max Crosby that convinced the Ravens not to take him, which would be very weird. That would be like 3D chess. Was he setting it up for the Cowboys, or is it just as simple as Jerry Jones ain't going to listen to anybody because he just sees a star? He doesn't care if his medicals are bad or not. He's like, I don't care. I want me glory hole. I want to give me some glory hole, like I said. I don't know, but they just come into camp and they're just running their mouths, and then you got to remind yourself, like Dak Prescott did for us. Super Bowl 30 people. I mean, we feel like we're in the desert, and we are more so than Dallas is the Super Bowl 26. But my God, as much airtime as they get, it's still Super Bowl 30. I mean, we're in the 60s now. So anyway, it's just crazy. It's just like, why do that to yourselves? You've set yourself up to be the punchline of First Take and all those other shows, but they seem to just like it's part of the business for them. Like that's important to them as much as just, I don't know, like winning. is to be, the soap opera, the Kardashians of the NFL.
Hey.
But yeah, I think they had a good year, good offseason, and all that. But I still think it does go through the Eagles. And yes, new offense, Sean Mannion. But I honestly think Jalen Hurts is better under center. I don't understand why he was allowed to talk their last offensive coordinator out of that a year ago. I thought that was part of the problem for the Eagles, was his, insistence on being in shotgun so much from what all the reports said. And he just wasn't as good in shotgun. Frankly, it doesn't make the defense guess, right?
Nah.
And, Barkley's going to be better a year removed from that, crazy season. And I think the fact that they have a year with Tank Bigsby, he's got to have a role, right? He's got to be like in Green Bay. Remember, even though they have been running the hell out of Josh Jacobs, they always had, a backup, right? Like they would spell him here and there. And I think that's what Tank Bigsby gives the Cowboys, or excuse me, the Eagles. They give that guy that can spell him. And he was pretty good when he ran the ball last year. They just got to give it to him a little bit more. And I think that will help Philly. Even though they lose their best player on offense, I think the group is better. It's a deeper receiving group that they put together, especially Mekhi Lemons, what everybody thinks he's going to be. But again, it's a lot of pressure on Hurts, as there always is, and he seems to be fine with it. And we'll, again, if everybody buys in, I think on that offense, I think it'll be a good. It's their year to have a good offense again. Because remember, it's like goes every other year. They got to fire somebody, or somebody's going to get a head coaching job, and then they got to replace. They always have the hard time initially replacing the person, whether it was Steichen or Kellen Moore. Now, like, it takes them 2 cycles to get it right. So this is the year they should be back on it. And if they're not, by the way, if they're not, it's going to be really wild.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bad year for them, it's going to be wild.
I'm here for fireworks. I'm here for the popcorn and all that. I'm interested to see when Philly plays Dallas.
Yes.
What suite will LeBron be in?
Yeah. So I actually asked this question to somebody at the Commanders this weekend. Do you think LeBron will come out to any Commanders practices or games, since, Josh Harris obviously owns both squads? And if so, will he pull a Bryce Harper? Back in the day, for those who remember, Bryce Harper's a Cowboys fan, by the way. He's not an Eagles fan. And he's a Duke fan and a Laker fan. He got the starter kit. He got the starter kit of fandom.
Vegas,
Yeah. He grew up in Vegas. Anyway, but yet he kind of, he started wearing Redskin gear. I don't know if you remember that. I don't know if you were here when he started wearing Redskin gear to games. And he was a big RG3 guy for a while too. And then, of course, he got to Philly, and then he's an Eagles guy, immediately. So I'm just wondering if LeBron James, because he's got a little bit of that in him sometimes. He kind of switches it up.
Stand on business, man.
Yeah, but if look, John Wall, to his detriment, went to a Redskins game, and his Cowboys stuff, and hung out with Jerry Jones. So I don't know if LeBron would dare do that in Philadelphia. I would think that would be really, really stupid. But you never know. He's supposedly going to live in New York, reportedly, which I think is a huge gamble on his part if things don't go well. But hey,
they throw batteries at people, man. It's Santa Claus at that. So what do you think they'll do to a king, man? What do you think they'll do to a
man?
King?
Yeah, listen, they're loaded. They're getting Drew Holiday now. I mean, that team, they should be the best team of the East by a lot.
They just trying to set it up. They just setting that up for a Lakers and 76ers. And here's what I think. And if for y'all folks, NBA championship odds on FanDuel, the 76ers are 1, 2, 3, they're 4th.
Okay.
Behind the Thunder, Spurs, Knicks, and then the 76ers. The Lakers are way down there at plus 5,000. But if Luka can stay healthy and they got Walker Kessler and all of them, all their people, Austin
They look like an old Duke team, if you ask me.
It look like an old Duke team? I wonder how that would be, Mr. Yeah. So
it's a whole new meaning to Lakers and their whites. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying that I can say that.
Hey man, I did kind of know that. I was like, that's an interesting looking lineup right there, but they're just gonna pass the ball around for the half of the game.
Yep.
No, they're setting that up for a good finals matchup. Plus, you think about it like this: any game that LeBron plays in is national game. I think they got like 30 some odd nationally televised games. They only had 18 the year prior.
Yeah.
So if he's playing on the East Coast, that's your early primetime game. Sure. Now you got your Lakers primetime game. NBA trying to take over. And then here comes the NFL playing on a Tuesday and a Wednesday to battle that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I do. I do hope for his sake he doesn't show up to any Commanders games wearing Cowboy gear. That's all I can say. And in Philly, he definitely needs to just stay out of that. Just skip those games. Those fans are a lot meaner.
Jersey. Don't wear an Eagles jersey though. Don't go that far.
Yeah, don't do Bryce Harper. You don't have to do that. You don't have to fake it. We get it. That's your team. That's fine. But anyway, but yeah, to me again, Eagles still they're the team gunning for, and it's great. That's the Commanders get them right out of the gate, and the other team is Dallas, and they get them in the second week. So we'll get a real feel right away for this season. I love it. All right. There you go. Final look at the numbers. Hopefully, if you invest in Washington, you will look very smart. Again, we're our Bleav Commanders, brought to you by FanDuel, part of the Bleav Network. Like, comment, and follow us. That is Anthony Armstrong at Rated Armstrong on the gram and on the X. I'm at Jackson Sports on the X and at Real Jackson Sports on the gram. Everybody have a good week. We will catch up with you later on, and before you know it, we'll be talking preseason football games here on Bleav Commanders, brought to you by FanDuel, part of the Bleav Network. See ya.
Yeah.